Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kayla, and if you're not new, thanks for coming back. Always happy to have you. So I know, I posted the poll on my Instagram for what video you guys wanted to see next from me, and you voted for a story time. I filmed the story time. It's coming. It is here. We know I like to talk. I don't have the time to edit it right now. So the story time video I have planned and coming for you guys is my top 3 worst boy experiences. So stay tuned for that. It is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see when that video comes out, and you have bell notifications on so you can see every time I post, and then you'll know exactly when it goes live. But I also want to apologize for not having a second upload last week. My finals season started last week. My last day of classes was Wednesday. Well, technically it's today, but I haven't had class. But my last class that I had was Wednesday. And I've just been thrown into finals, and I've been working really hard finishing up my last couple assignments. I still have 6 papers due this week, so pray for me. So this week for my first video, I wanted to do something a little bit quick, and I apologize if my next video is also not that story time, but just a quick review for you guys. I'm just trying to get videos up for you guys that I'm still excited about, but don't take me as long to edit or film, because right now it's like 11:30 and I still have to write another paper today. At 11:30 at night, not morning. At night. So just so you guys have a little bit of a heads up, it's a crazy week for me, but next week, next Monday, May 11th, I will be done with my first semester of senior year, and we will get into all of the fun and exciting content I have planned for you guys. So if you read the title of this video, you know what we're talking about today, but we are doing my April reading wrap up and my TBR for May 2020. So I haven't done a video like this in a very long time on my channel. I think the last time I did this was 2017. And I also noticed we haven't had a book video on RoyReadingCo in a very long time. And that made me sad. I've been very into my Yeti lately, so. But yeah, we haven't had a bookish video in a while, so I figured it might be nice to kind of mix things up a little bit and do something different on this channel. Let's get started. So I think I'm going to start with the books that I read, because I actually read a lot this month. I think being at home and getting into a better routine of being at home all the time, being in quarantine, working from home, school from home, I was able to find more time to read. So I read a lot, and I will say a lot of this reading came from me not wanting to do my work from home, my homework from home, which isn't good. But I read a lot, so I'm pretty proud. We're going to start with one of the first things I read. I had an event with Amanda Lovelace and Cyrus Parker. So I had picked up Amanda's new book, which is Break Your Glass Slippers. I mentioned this on my Instagram, but I haven't mentioned it on my YouTube yet. Amanda actually partnered with Luna Lifted Company, which is a jewelry company, accessory company, that's all kind of like spiritual and kind of witchy related, which is cool. So they came out with this limited edition pendant that also gives back to breast cancer research to go with the book. So this says, for those who break glass slippers as well as glass ceilings, and it's really, really cute. So, but I read this, and this is part of a new series from her. I want to say it's not named yet, but it might be. This is part of the You Are Your Own Fairy Tale series, and I know the next one that's coming out is Thaw Your Icy Heart or something. It's Frozen related, but this is really good. This kind of has a fun sort of narrative about like one narrator who is like trying to find herself, and then so she says something that she believes about herself, and fairy godmother kind of comes back and like changes her perspective, which is really, really cool. And then this last part is just kind of bringing it all together into a new person. I will say also these pages here are beautiful. There are full color interpages in this book that are gorgeous, but this is a great way to kind of empower yourself in this time, and that's what I found really helpful. Like, this has been a great mental health growing time for me, so reading this book was super helpful to change my perspective and kind of redirect my own train of thought, which was nice. Also, I think this is a really cool way of looking at fairy tales, like what we can learn from the characters in fairy tales. And I think this is honestly my favorite collection that Amanda's ever come out with. Going along in that vein, I then went on, I've had this on my shelf forever. I randomly special ordered this at the bookstore because you know I do that a lot. But this is Have Courage, Be Kind, The Tale of Cinderella, based on the live action. So it's kind of like the live action novelization, and it's beautiful. So this is from Disney Press, and it's basically a pretty straightforward novelization of the live action, but it changes perspectives. So you see some of Kit's perspective, you see some of Kit's dad, the fairy godmother, all of those different things. And this also has full color pictures in it as well. So I'm going to try and find my favorite one. And it's kind of cool because when the perspective changes, there's that pivotal moment where Ella goes from Ella to Cinderella. And when it's her chapter perspective, you can actually see the change where in the beginning, she's referred to as Ella. And then in the end half, her chapter pages are by Cinderella. So this is one of my favorites. There's full color pictures like this of them dancing at the ball. I read this in like an hour. It was super easy to read. I'll show you how big the text is. It's huge and it goes super fast, especially because it's a plot we all know. It's a movie we kind of all saw. So this was super fun to read. Then this I read for school, but I did enjoy it, so I wanted to talk about it. I read Reservation Blues by Sherman Alexie. This was my first time reading Sherman Alexie, and I know he wrote the Entirely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, I think is what it's called. But this talks a lot about magical realism and kind of reservation life and lore and kind of the issues that Native Americans like deal with like alcoholism, depression, obesity, poor quality healthcare, poor quality food, funding, job security kind of things, but also with a spin of magical realism, which was really, really interesting. Native American culture is something that I am really interested in. So reading this, I really liked it, and there's a whole plot about a magic guitar in this, which is really, really cool. That being said, we're going to talk about a different book that I had to read for school that I'm so sad that I didn't enjoy. I read There There by Tommy Orange. This won the American Book Award, I think in 2017 or 2018. But it was his Tommy Orange's debut novel. It is told in multiple perspectives. It takes place in Oakland, California, and basically it talks about social and demographic issues and tensions in this area. So there's a plot to rob a powwow that turns into a shootout at a powwow, one of the biggest powwows on the West Coast, and it talks about a lot of different perspectives as well. It's a multiple perspective novel, so you get a lot of Native American perspectives as well as non-Native perspectives, and they highlight the similar issues that Sherman Alexie talks about, like alcoholism, addiction, suicide and depression, all sorts of things. And I really would have liked this because the chapters and perspectives are really short. That it didn't take me long to read, but I think because it was made homework and I had to read it, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as if I had just picked this up to read for fun. One thing that was really hard for me is that there are so many characters. I want to say there are at least 10 different perspectives in this novel of different ages, in different times. Some are in the past, some are in the present, some are in between that past and present, that this can be very, very confusing. And then these two are probably my favorite that I read this month, and I can't really decide which one is my favorite. But the first was a brand new read for me. I've had this on my shelf forever. This is The Land of Stories #1, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. This is basically the story of Alex and Connor, who are two twins whose fathers just passed away, and their grandmother gifts them a book of fairy tales from their childhood. Basically, they fall into the book of fairy tales and are trying to collect these magical items to create a spell so they can go home. So they meet all of their favorite fairy tale characters. They go on this awesome adventure. They meet all the villains. They're also racing against the evil queen from Snow White to get these items. And this is just such a funny and fast-paced book that it sucked me in, and I literally read it in one day. Also, I gotta plug it. There's a great ass map over here. So it's actually really cool what he did with this kind of fairy tale universe where really each major princess gets their own kingdom. So the Corner Kingdom had Rapunzel in it. There was I don't remember what was in the Fairy Kingdom, but the Charming Kingdom obviously had Prince Charming and Cinderella. Snow White had the Northern Kingdom, so Snow White and Prince Charming, and then there was also the Sleeping Kingdom with Sleeping Beauty and her Prince Charming. So the 3 Prince Charmings are all brothers. There's actually a 4th one in there, but it combines so many different fairy tales in such relatable and funny characters and just interesting circumstances. It just creates such a fleshed out fairy tale world where like all of your favorite stories exist in one place. And obviously that's what he did with the plot and the whole concept of the book, but it really worked in the world building as well. I felt like I had just fallen into a fairy tale world and I had so much fun. And also Alex and Connor are so funny and intelligent and witty and smart. Like I feel like so many times in middle grade books, funny kids are also like made dumb, which is so stupid because they're witty and clever, and like that's what Alex and Connor were. They were funny, but they were witty and intelligent, and like they actually figured things out for themselves, which was really nice. But this is a long book series. There's like 6 books, so I was so happy that I picked this up, and I actually got like, it clicked in my head. I was like, I want to read that. And I just read it in literally a day and ignored all my homework. But it was amazing. And I definitely give this 5 stars. This was so much fun to read. And I can't wait to read the next one. This is the last one. 6 books in April. I was really behind on my Goodreads reading challenge, and now I'm not behind anymore. But I picked up this book. I needed a nostalgia read. Over on my bookstore's YouTube channel, we have been doing bookseller chats where I've been talking to my bookseller friends about what we're all reading and doing. And one of my friends, Julia, talked about comfort reads and nostalgia reads, or things that she just rereads when she needs to read something comforting. And I thought about like why I don't necessarily reread a lot. And it was funny that my manager today also told me that he's been rereading a lot because he needs something that's comforting to him, that he knows and is familiar, which I think says a lot about like what we're going through in the world that we're in. I finally challenged myself to reread this time around. I've been thinking about rereading this book, and it's very like there's a very weird reason why I didn't, and I'll explain to you in a minute. But I finally reread my favorite Sarah Dessen book, which is Along for the Ride. This book, oh my god, this is my favorite Sarah Dessen, and I remember reading this when I was like 13 and being like, oh my god, I can't wait to be in love. And then like I didn't want to read it for a very long time because my love life is a mess, as you'll see in my worst boys experiences video coming soon. The love interest in this book has the same exact name, like first and middle name, as a love interest I had for a very long time that recently things did not work out with. So I was like, I don't think I can read this book without thinking of this boy that literally just stomped all over my heart, so I'm not going to do it. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm not letting him ruin this book for me. So I read it and I was like, oh my god, this Eli was so much better than mine. Oh my god, it just made me so happy. It made me feel like summer. It made me feel like young and in love, like a teenager in love again. I mean, I'm like 21, so I'm basically a teenager in love. Just kidding, boys don't like me. But I felt so like revitalized reading this book and going back to this world, hanging out with Auden again. I love Sarah Dessen's writing and her plot, and like I feel like in every Sarah Dessen book there is like a key romance moment, or like the key moment where it clicks and like everyone's in love. I forgot how good it felt to read a moment like that. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a moment in here that is just like so sweet and wholesome that it's just like, these are the kind of books that make you want to be in love. This is probably one of my favorite reads of the month, but it also was really helpful in dealing with this stupid boy. I almost forgot about a book that I have been raving about to all of my friends for the past like month and a half, and I am so sorry that I forgot to bring it up. I will have a whole review on this book because I reviewed the first one back in November when it came out, and now I got the advanced reader copy of the sequel, which I no longer have because I gave it to my friends. And that is the Camelot Betrayal, which is the second book in the Camelot Rising series, aka the sequel to the Guinevere Deception, by Kiersten White. And I have been yearning for this sequel, for this arc, for a year. And then finally, the day my bookstore shut down, we got the arc in the mail and I got to bring it home. And I literally abandoned all responsibility to read this book. I took a little bit of a break because I got to the last 60 pages. The last 60 pages are very intense and I wasn't ready for it to end because I know I have to wait a whole other year to get the third one, the last and final installment. So I wanted to put it off as long as possible, but then so many people wanted to read it, I knew I had to surrender. So I read The Camelot Betrayal. I will have a whole review up on my channel closer to the release date, but if you read Guinevere Deception, buckle your seatbelts because book 2 is a wild ride, and it like is wild in ways that you wouldn't expect, like the love square and oh my god, the Lady of the Lake and all of this stuff. Guinevere's sister, Merlin, everything explodes. Like you think you're going on this happy jaunt through Camelot and then everything is on fire. Like, damn. But that book was so good, but I don't want to talk about it too much because save it for the review, you know. But now we are going to get into the books I'm excited to read in May. So, like I said before, I have about a week until I can officially dedicate myself to binge watching TV and reading, and sister is ready. Like, I'm also, because I've been reading a lot, these books and reading such well-crafted books makes me want to write. I cannot wait to like dedicate myself to a writing project and finally have the time to do it. But anyway, that's a separate story. We're going to get into the books that I want to read in May. So the first on my list, I've already started, but I started a while ago, so I might as well start over, is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, which is the sequel to Shadow and Bone. I started this series and I never finished it. I read the first one, I want to say like a year ago, and I grabbed the second one, unfortunately in the new cover because I have the old cover of the first one, which is just sacrilege. But I have the second one and I got pretty far. I got 130 pages into it, but I think I went back to school and I never got to finish it. But I also have the third one ready to go, and everyone tells me that the second one is the best because you meet some character named Nikolai and I want to know who he is. So I think I want to finish this up so then I can also add the third one, which is over there. I know exactly where it is, and finish out this series because I've heard so many great things about Leigh Bardugo and I really loved Shadow and Bone that I'm sure I'll love this one just as much. Next, I already touched on it a little bit, but I did go ahead and order the second book in the Land of Stories, which is The Enchantress Returns, book 2. Basically, I thought I had the second one already, but I had the third, so I had to order the second one, and it took way too long to get in, so I started reading other things, but I cannot wait to go back to the Land of Stories. So I have the second one ready to go, and I really want to read that too. It's a bit longer than the first one, I'm not gonna lie, so I'm a little intimidated, but I know that these are super fast, so I really am excited to read this as well. My only thing with this series, so far Beauty and the Beast is not mentioned, and if it's not, Chris Colfer, you'll be getting an email from me, sir. Next, I'm not excited, but I'm not like over the moon to start reading this one. I have Celeste Ng's Little Fires Everywhere, which I know just became a show on Hulu, but this is for my family book club. We pick a book once a month that we all read with my aunts, my cousin, my aunt's friend, my sister, my mom, me, and now my friend Julie. So my sister picked Little Fires Everywhere for us to read. So I do have to read this month, and it should be pretty short. It's only 327 pages, so I'm not super worried about it. I've heard really good things about it. It's just one of those books, it's wicked hype, so I'm like, eh. But I am curious to see if it lives up to the hype, so I will be reading this. I think this will be a really fast, quick read for me to get through. The next one I have is another great arc that I'm so excited I was able to get my hands on because everyone I work with raves about her, but I never read anything by her. I have Burn Our Bodies Down, which is Rory Powers' new book. Rory Powers came out with Rory Power came out with Wilder Girls last year, which I never read but still want to. And her new book comes out in July. We're actually doing a virtual event with her at the store, I want to say May 26th. So I wanted to read this book before our event with her so I could kind of sit in on the event, maybe get a book plate or something signed, and read this. So I'm very excited about that. I've heard it's like really weird. I started it a little bit, but then I was like, I got caught up in homework, so I think I'm just gonna restart and read it all in one go. And this book I actually already started, and I am so freaking excited about. It is a whirlwind. It is Caitlin Barron's Cinderella is Dead. Basically, this book takes place 200 years after Cinderella has died, and basically talks about how Cinderella's legacy has shaped reality for a bunch of girls. So girls get invited to a ball every year where male suitors can pick their brides. Women have no say, and they're required to attend. And if by 3 times you've gone to the ball, you are not matched with a husband, you basically disappear. Also, the character Sophia is in love with her best friend Erin, and wants to run away with her, but they can't. That's my little notes sheets for my review. But this book comes out July 7th, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm about 50 pages in right now, and I'm loving it. So I will definitely have a review and thoughts on this for you guys. But this is probably going to be my first read to finish up next week once I finish up all my homework. And with that, I know this video probably got a little long. That is all I have to say today. Those are the books that I read in April and the books that I want to read in May. My book of the month is for sure The Camelot Betrayal, which I'm so sorry does not come out until November, but it is so good. I will have a full review closer to that release date for you guys so you can hear all of my thoughts about it. But I hope you guys like this video. We haven't done something like this in a while, so let me know if this is something you want me to bring back more regularly. It's really easy for me to just sit and talk about what I read, and maybe you guys can find a book that you want to read too. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below letting me know you want to see more of these. Make sure you subscribe. Don't forget that worst experience with boys video is coming soon. It's gonna be a good one. You're gonna hear about Charlie, Ben, and Andrew, and I'm very excited. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you are all staying safe and healthy wherever you are. Happy reading, and I will see you guys in my next one.